Two-tier tokens are probably the worst idea I have ever seen created in blockchain, bar none. So what are two-tier token systems or two token systems? First, I will explain what a one token system is. Very simply put, a one token system pays for everything. It is the only token you need to transact on a network, to interact with smart contracts, so on and so forth. 99% of crypto projects are one token systems. I don't know who had the bright idea. I don't know who the first person to do this was, but they decided that this wasn't good enough. And so what they ended up doing was they created a two token system. And now we have several projects that run on two token systems. And usually how this works is the first token will be something transactional. So I can send, let's say, Ethereum back and forth to you and me between our wallets on Ethereum. Sure, that's fine. We can do that. But if I want to interact with a smart contract on this new platform, let's say it's an Ethereum clone, on this platform, they make it so you have to use a stablecoin. And why is that? In order to, again, stabilize price, which I think is really kind of pointless. Because first of all, you have to look at this from an investor standpoint or a trader standpoint. Usually the reason I'm buying something, usually the reason I'm putting my money in something or holding something is, especially when it comes to blockchain and tokens, is it's hopefully going to accrue some of the value. 90% of a blockchain's value is in the network. It's not really so much in the technology or in the chain itself as much as it is in the people who are supporting it, which is really kind of interesting to think about. Maybe worth doing another video for someday. But if you take that value out and you cut it in half and you say, well, some of the value is going to be in this stable coin and some of the value is going to be in this other coin, first of all, you're kind of confused. You don't really know why the other coin even exists in many cases. So if there's a stable coin and it's pegged to $1 and you can use this for smart contracts, you have to ask yourself, why does this other token exist? What is this other token doing aside from just allowing me to do transactions? If I want to do transactions, I can go trade with Bitcoin, or I can go buy some Ethereum and send it to someone. Why do I have a two-tier system where one is only for transactional value and the other is to interact with smart contracts? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you take things apart like that. It really, what it does is it usually puts the non-stable coin in this weird island of trying to figure out a utility for it. And there usually cannot be any kind of utility that's found naturally or inherently in this token. So what a lot of companies will do is they will try to kind of hand-fist their way into creating some form of value for this token, or it's necessary for this thing or that thing. Well, you have to ask yourself just technically, why is this necessary? And the answer is it's really not. We just had to get some kind of value for this token. So it's really weird in that perspective. Again, so the stablecoin, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I'm interacting with Ethereum, the Ethereum network, and I want to send a transaction, it's going to vary sometimes. So sometimes I'll only pay, let's say, 10 cents to send $10 of Ethereum, and sometimes I'll pay 20 cents to send $10 of Ethereum. Yes, it does vary. This is kind of what the stablecoin does fix. The addition of a stablecoin does fix that. But again, if I start using my stablecoin to do this kind of transaction, then all of those transactions that the original token would have had are now on the stablecoin. So what is left to use on this original token for? Nothing. I might as well just use the stablecoin. It's like saying would you rather trade with Ethereum, or if you had to send $10, would you rather trade with Ethereum, or would you rather trade with something that is pegged to $10? Well, you probably want to trade with something that's pegged to $10, right? So why would you ever want to trade with Ethereum? It doesn't make sense. The only reason projects like Ethereum and tokens like Ethereum have value is because it's all wrapped up into one thing. It's all one network. It's all one project. If you want to interact with smart contracts, gotta use ETH, baby. So, and again, if the value is bisected, I think this was an Abraham Lincoln quote: "A house divided will surely fall." There it is. The sum of its parts is certainly a lot stronger than the parts themselves, and you're cutting them in half doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think the only country that does this is China, who has a two token. China actually, funnily enough, very successful with a two token system with regards to their money. But that's the only case that I know of where a two token system works, and that really only works because of heavy manipulation and things like that. Most other world economies use, let's say, the United States dollar. We use $1 for everything. We're not splitting up dollars you have to use Chuck E. Cheese coins to go fix your car. No, you use dollars, because the more people that use dollars, the more faith is in the dollars, the more credit it can accrue, so on and so forth, and the transactional value can increase. Obviously, as the network increases of people using it. Makes a lot of sense, right? It doesn't make sense to cut the dollar in half and say you need to use Chuck E. Cheese tokens over here, and you need to use Pizza Hut redemption points over here, so on and so forth. Actually, it's really kind of like the crypto market, where we have tokens for everything. Possibly another topic for another video. So, another point. People and ICOs will create stablecoins in order to, again, pay for services. Why do I need to use your stablecoin in your system when there's already all these other stablecoins that exist? Unless you don't trust the stablecoin, which is a decent enough argument to make. But even then, if you don't trust the stablecoin, let's say Tether, if you as a project management developer, so on and so forth, if you're a project developer and you don't trust Tether, how is anyone going to trust what you are creating? Doesn't really make a lot of sense, because you need to build a hell of a lot more confidence than Tether has. And Tether, unfortunately for you, has a lot more history. So again, it doesn't really make sense in that case. And so if you're creating a token, a stablecoin that doesn't need to be created, because if I want to use my app, I might as well just use Tether or USDC or True USD or Maker or any of the other, I think it's DAI, or any of the other stablecoins that already exist on the market. I don't need to add another one to the pile of useless stablecoins. There's no need to obfuscate further what we already have obfuscated enough, I would say. So, and I suppose the final point I will make on this is that a large portion or a large part of blockchain as a whole, it's conceptually, the big advantage is that there's distribution of value among its peers. So if you hold 10% of whatever token, chances are you're probably going to own 10% of the value of that network. If you own 10% of a token, but there's another stablecoin aspect, and 90% of the transactions are on the stablecoin, chances are the value of my 10% is going to be a hell of a lot less than it would be if everything was just rolled into one token. So even I myself, as a holder of a token, am not able to get or expose myself and have access to a lot of the transactional value and the use cases that a single tier, that a single token system would allow me to have. So that's really just my problem with two token systems. There's been a lot of them that we've seen. A lot of them, usually ICOs, and they're trying to solve this weird problem of price fluctuation. But price fluctuation is fine. It's the least concerning problem when it comes to blockchain. The bigger problems are things like user interface, mainstream adoption, getting it in front of people's hands, actually teaching people what any of these coins and things do, creating a killer use case, getting a killer concept. These things are interesting and these things are worth pursuing, not a two-token system that it solves a problem that doesn't even really exist in the first place, or is a problem that's really quite minimal. I've seen white papers that have gone into so much detail into explaining why the stablecoin is going to work and why the stablecoin is good for the system, but they don't work enough on the initial system, or the initial system just doesn't make much sense in the first place. So anyway, that's all I had to say. I don't really like two-token systems. I don't invest in two-token systems at all. I am super bearish on those generally. I think the only two-token system that has worked so far is maybe Maker and DAI. I think that's the only one. I don't think there's any other ones that have succeeded. And for good reason, because they're not very good systems in the first place. Or at least they haven't been figured out yet. So, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe, and I will be back with some more stuff. See you guys.